with SEO, you're tapping into those people who are interested in your service and product, and you're not doing anything to convince them because they already want you. You're just showing right in front of their face.
You're listening to the One Man Business Podcast, brought to you by Rod Fancy. Everything you need to know to run your own show.
Welcome everybody to One Man Business Podcast. Today I'm super excited. I have Nick Man here, or the backflip guy. Can I mention that?
Well, that's my Instagram handle, yeah.
So he's an SEO specialist, and who doesn't want to show up in the first page of Google, right? So we're gonna learn a lot about this. What is SEO, and how business owners can, like consultants and consultants can improve their SEO on their website. My name is Rod. I'm a web designer, and thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me on, Rod. And SEO is so valuable, especially to local businesses, because anytime anybody wants to look for a solution, the first place they go to
their
is
phones.
Google.
They're
phones.
just Googling all the time. Millennials, they're crazy, right? They're probably Googling more than they are asking questions, right? People, real questions to people, conversation.
They're on social media.
So awesome, man. To start, I would love to know more about the basics, right? First of all, the SEO stands for search engine optimization.
Yes.
Which is kind of like a confusing. So can you explain,
So, when the internet first came around, they had search engines like Yahoo, Bing, Google was a little bit late in the game, but SEO was more of a broader sense because those were called search engines, and what you're doing to a website is you're optimizing it for those search engines. Mm-hmm. Google's just been such a Goliath recently that nobody uses anything but Google when they're on search engines.
He ate everybody.
Yeah, basically, only people who don't know how to switch out of their default browsers go on Bing, and nobody uses Yahoo. So SEO originally came from when search engines were more even between those different companies, and so the act of SEO is ranking those websites to the first page to places for keywords that people are looking up your service or your product.
Mm-hmm. So basically the way it works is I want something, I want information, or whatever I am in the buyer's journey. Let's say it's a journey, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe I don't know what I need, or maybe I'm just figuring out, and I'm Googling the topics related to that product or service or outcome that I want to achieve, and then I just hit your page. I just get your page.
Yeah,
there,
exactly, and
right?
it's almost seems easy, and I think a good place to start is why someone would want SEO. And I've used this analogy before, but it's if we pretend that we're in a scenario where we're running a restaurant type of business, and say we're going to set up shop downtown Vancouver. Okay. And I ask you to pick one advantage you can have over everyone else, what would you pick? I mean, a lot of people would choose the fastest service, the best burgers, the friendliest service. The advantage I would pick is hungry customers.
Because that applies to everybody.
Because you don't have to do anything to convince them to come to your restaurant. They're hungry. They already have that desire to
and they're close.
Buy. Exactly. Right? So with SEO, you're tapping into those people who are interested in your service and product, and you're not doing anything to convince them because they already want you. You're just showing right in front of their face.
Writing on the right place, on the right time. Yeah. So, and restaurant is it gets it's up. I mean, it's clear that someone is hungry, but I think it's tricky when it's a service, because we don't know exactly So because we have research that people are Googling inside the stores for a product, and they're deciding right away what they are going to buy on that store. So that's impressive. But for services, which I that's what I provide, and I have a lot of clients that ask me about, for example, if they're consultants or if they are practitioners. How can you sum or simplify this work? We're gonna go through the, let's say, tips on how to do that, but a more like general kind of general advice for people that are
for how people can kind of do SEO themselves.
It's simplify. Of course, we don't want to, again, I always want to make sure that we don't want to teach people how to do SEO in 10 minutes podcast, right? It's impossible. But
there are some fundamentals you can really get you started and get the ball rolling for you. For example, Google, if you ever are searching for services, you'll notice that one of the first thing that pops up is the map section, right? And then you have you have 3 positions there, and they all have their ratings and their address and everything. Well, what you could do to set that up is go to Google. It's called Google My Business. So if you Google My Business, you can set that up, and that has a big impact on your business, because a lot of people go there first. And just making sure to fill all that information out as much as possible. Fill out, add pictures, add the correct phone number, the correct address, obviously, and the correct name. But to simplify SEO down, there's 2 parts to it. Now, there's on-page SEO and there's off-page SEO. And so a good analogy for SEO is like a car, because a car has 2 components to it. There's the steering and there's the engine. Okay. So you need both for a car to actually be useful to you. Like if you had a Lamborghini that you couldn't steer, it'd be a fancy piece of junk. Yeah. And you wouldn't want a car where you could just steer and have no engine, because that's useless too. So on-page SEO is like steering for a car, for the website, because on-page SEO tells Google what your website is about, what it's relevant about, and where it should place you in terms of keywords. Off-page SEO. To highlight, keywords are basically just words. Search phrases.
Yeah, phrases or words that you add to a page, so Google knows what this page is about.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. When they're crawling, like when they're searching in their algorithm, whatever, right? So sorry, it's just like...
No worries. And, maybe I'll take the opportunity to go a little deeper into that. So with on-page SEO, you want to be careful about over-optimizing on the on-page, because content is the easiest thing to manipulate out of everything in terms of on-page. So you can, if you say want to rank a website for Vancouver Dentist, and you have Vancouver Dentist in your
all
website,
over the page.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to over-optimize. Like honestly, I would only have that keyword one time out of maybe 1,000 words, right? Because it's the easiest to pick up with Google's algorithms, and it's easy to manipulate. The most important part for your keyword to be in is the URL. So you know how it says domain, like yourwebsite.com. If you want to make an inner page, your website.com / whatever keyword. If you're ranking on your homepage, you have less control, but the next step down from that would be the H1 tags, or the next one down would be the site title. And if you're using Yoast or WordPress, there's a plugin called Yoast where you can change the title. It's called the meta title. The next important part is the meta description, and then you have the H1 tags, which gets a little bit into coding, but those are the main parts that affect on-page SEO.
And like pages are basically we have written content there, we have image, and we have the domain, the address, let's say, right? The URL address. So you are saying that the domain, which for example I love to do websites.com is / and then if I want to rank that page, which is the page related to websites for solopreneurs, I should have that like I love to do websites.com / solopreneur websites. Yeah. And then H1, as you mentioned, would be like the big title on top, right? Like a big title saying websites for consultants, maybe because it's the name of the page, right?
Yeah.
And then the content, because sometimes people are like, I just add like websites for solopreneurs all over the page because that will rank. Is it true?
No,
it's not true at all, right? Sometimes I hear like, and then Google algorithms are really smart, right?
Yeah.
They're Google, right?
My favorite was I think a couple months ago, someone was pulling me aside and asked me, he heard from someone that he could put in his keyword 1,000 times, just his keywords, and then make it the font's white and have a white background. And it was like, no, maybe back in 2000 when they first started.
When they first started, because Google didn't have the technology to actually. Now Google can actually see if the flow of the page, if like the design of the page is actually, a good design. There's a flow on this, so we can rank based on that. So look at that. This is a high-level technology.
That's a huge advancement too, because they can detect what a user does on the website, if it's interacting with the website, or if it's just like staying on it for 2 seconds and then leaving.
Look at that. So sorry, I just interrupted. I want to make clear people know this basis. So okay. The URL, the domain name / whatever.
There's a good acronym for that, and it's called UMAC. U for URL, M for meta title description, A is for anchor text, which is kind of with the links. So ignore that for now. Then contents. So contents on the last.
Oh, okay. So if you're a WordPress user, I recommend you to use Yoast plugin. There's a lot of tips there. You can get like newsletter or whatever. You can start at least. But if you are on other platforms like Wix, Weebly, or Squarespace, they all have on each page
all have some way of
like
doing
the fields, so you can add the keyword, the meta tag, which is just the page description, and they have like some explanations to go more in deep for on this, right? So this is one thing. So this is on page SEO. And now this is the wheel. So and then we have now
not super sexy, but it's important to any car.
Yeah. Now the engine. I'm excited.
Now the engine.
What is the engine?
That's the complicated part, because a lot of the engine is what Google sees as value, right? And
like the value that we're bringing with that page?
With that website. And one way is that it does that is by links. Now, it's easier to explain through an analogy too.
Okay.
So let's pretend that we're in high school and Google's this like judgmental kid that's judging everybody that's coming in. So if your website is completely new and comes to that school, Google's going to think nothing about it, right? Because it's new. He doesn't talk to anybody. No cool people is talking about him. So Google basically ranks him 0, right? Not even on the radar. But if that new kid starts talking to all the cool kids, and the cool kids start talking to him and about him, then Google's going to be like, oh, he's actually more popular than I thought, so I'm going to start ranking him higher. And that's the same way that Google does it. And it's a rough analogy, but if you start hanging with all the losers, let's pretend whatever you want to view losers as.
Like the ones that the scams, like bad websites.
Exactly. Your website is going to be associated with spam and scam, and the last thing Google wants to do is show its users a low quality site, because Google only wants to show the best quality sites. Like if you search up cats and you get a website about dogs, Google's not doing a good job. People are going to be angry because they're not getting what they want, and they're going to start using other search engines.
So Google will add to your, let's say, to your URL like a negative point or something.
Negative points, yeah, exactly.
So I have another one that I really like to use. It's like Google is like a library, but to refer a book, it needs to know if people already use them and refer them I want a romance. I want to go like this travel and I want to read like a good romance, like Greek romance or whatever. So the librarian goes and okay, let's search for romance, Greek keywords, right? But then she looks and see, this one was we had like 100 people that read this book
and say good things about
it. So wow, okay, I'll recommend this to you. I'll put it in the first page, let's say, and I'm quoting because Google needs to refer. It's their business. Their business is deliver good results. based on your keywords. So if I type Mexican food, I don't want to get a page about like pancakes.
Yeah.
One Mexican food.
One Mexican food.
So
exactly.
first of all, if the topic on your page or whatever you're doing in each page, we are always considering a keyword for each page. We are talking about one page, right?
Yeah.
Each page. So each page has a specific subject, outcome you want the users to have after read that. And it should be aligned with the keyword, right?
Yeah.
I think this is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And that's good. I love that. I didn't know this one for Google on the new kid on the blog.
Yeah, the off-page SEO. Well, there's a ton of analogies too. Like part of it is like if you want to rank something, it could be an island, and depending on how many islands build bridges to it, signifies the importance and the quality of the island, right? Because that's what a link is too. I mean, you have to imagine the mindset of a person who clicks on that link or puts a link on their website. What they're saying is, here's all this content that I think is valuable and on my website, but here's a link that goes to somebody else's website and is important enough where you can just leave my website and probably not come back.
Yeah. First of all, you have to have links that goes to your own page, right? Like to help people. Like if I'm talking about web design for solopreneurs or how to build your own website, I have to have a link on this page going to a blog post or a podcast that talks specific about that. And this is good because Google knows that this link goes to a podcast. Oh, it is a good referral. So nice, good job.
Right.
It's kind of like this. But what if I don't have external links? Like I don't have anybody. I'm the new kid. How can I create these bridges?
Because internal links are kind of like the new kid bragging about himself. Right?
Yes,
there's no credibility in that.
That's a great one.
So, there's very fundamental links you can go out and get. So, for example, Facebook, you can create a Facebook page, and even though that link doesn't have much power, it creates relevance to it. It's about, once again, making your website look like it's more higher quality in Google's eyes. And so you want to think of what a scammy website wouldn't do, right? If you're a fly-by-night website or business, you're not going to take the time to set up Facebook page properly. You're not going to take time to set up Yelp properly, Yellow Pages. There's the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, which you have to pay like $600 a year or something to be part of that for them to have you in their profile.
And it counts points if you link to their website and
one of the things that they look at is the authority of that domain, so how powerful and how cool that website is. So BBB, they know that they're really
it's a serious
authority in their industry, right? So even though I might not personally like the BBB, it does have its weight in terms of SEO because of how Google looks at them.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's important to create these bridges between. And I would say, we are part of a networking group, right? Which it works really well. I'll do a podcast on networking in the future. But what I think it's also, there's a lot of partners or people around us that we can build and collaborate together. So bring their content to your website. Ask them to add your content or your link, right? You're not adding only a link. You want to give information, right? Like a context.
Yeah, it has to make sense.
It has to make sense. Can you just paste my link about this page on your website? No, just feature me, and I will answer some questions maybe related to
a blog post or something.
Like a blog post.
Exactly.
Or you can, for example, even if it's like a different industry. For example, I'll do. This is another podcast I would like to do about how solopreneurs can take care more of their be more healthy, basically. So I can actually add a link to a nutritionist, and we can kind of collaborate together, right? It's not that it's impossible to work with someone totally out of your industry, but if it's related, it should make sense in the context of your business that you're providing content and linking to someone, not created in scam, right? Because this doesn't work.
And that's definitely one way to go at it, and one that would help. I'd say it might be a little more time intensive, but an easier way would just be to go after. Now, these types of links are called citations, but those are Yellow Pages, Yelp, You can just search those up yourself. And, obviously with these, there are ones that are better quality and ones that are lower quality too, right?
Yeah, I remember when I did SEO, I used to work with this on my agency, and I used to create websites in all platforms, right? So I created like Wix, all the platforms, like all the platforms I could find, like About Me, blah blah blah. Every single platform I created like a page or something with a different content. Not that I copy it. It takes time, of course. But you know what? It's not only that Google is linking now or it's kind of tracking this down, but it's also that you are getting out there, right?
You're creating other online properties too for people to find you.
So people can find me different channels. So that's awesome. I mean, it's really overwhelming when people starting with SEO, and they usually talk to me, my clients. I just, for example, I deliver a website, and then they say, okay, so how long should I update this? Is there an update? How do I track that? So do you have any tips like on how to manage this? Like, I know it's tricky because there's so many softwares out there, right? I really like to refer some of them. One that I use, I think you can have like a free account or something. It's SEMrush. SEM Rush, and I think you can get a lot of information like related keywords, right? So if like someone is doing by themselves, do you have any tool? And I know you have like let's say a report that you do, like a video analysis that you do, that is pretty cool. You did for me, and I love it. That's when this guy knows what he's talking about. So, but for those people that are struggling on managing their SEO or going, after adding the keyword, what should they do to actually? It's like there is that any software that helps. I know it's not that gonna solve the problem.
Yeah, that's a tough question because, business owners should be focusing on their core business and not necessarily the ins and outs of SEO, because that wouldn't be the best use of their time. What they could do to prepare for meeting with an SEO agent or digital marketing agency is set up Google Analytics properly so that it's tracking the people that are coming to the website, what pages they're seeing, because then you can use that as marketing data. So if you haven't already set up Google Analytics on your website, set that up so it can be tracking in the background.
Yeah, that's pretty actually simple to set up an account on Google Analytics. You just have to have a Google account, just like Google My Business. You go to I think it's analytics.google.com.
Yeah,
and just create the account, and then once you add that, you need to add a code on your website, and most of the platforms make this really friendly and easy for you to do. And then after that, you can track the visitors and get some data. So that's what it is, right?
Yep.
Google Analytics. You have a great video analysis again. It's pretty impressive. And you run an agency, right?
Yes.
Can I help you? Can I ask you to help us? What do you recommend people to start? Where?
Yeah. So when you're starting with marketing, the foundation of every marketing is your website, which you do, and you do a fantastic job doing that. But whenever anybody does advertising, people are going to go to your website, whether you're just handing out business cards, whether, I don't know if anyone's doing radio ads or, newspaper ads, but, people are going to end up on your website. So it's really important to have that good first impression online. And I would say for most businesses, the next step would be advertising on the search engine. So that's either search engine optimization or search engine marketing. So search engine marketing is Google paid ads. The difference is between the two, Google optimization or search engine optimization takes time because you're building an asset. You own your website, so you're ranking it, so you increase the value of that asset. So when you stop paying someone to do your SEO, you still retain that value. When you're doing search engine marketing, you get the results faster because the instant you pay Google, your ads show up and you can have traffic coming to your website and have customers buying from you.
If you have a great offer, why not? They will click, right? If you have a great
offer, yeah.
Okay.
Or if you have a really good...
Great tip.
Or if you have a really good website that really speaks to your clientele or your customers or whatever product you're selling.
Sometimes what I like to recommend is like of course, you have a good website. You have to have a good image. At least translate well what you do and your differential, your like uniquenesses. Let's say. But just do some research on your competitors, because if you don't have a competitor in your local area, you can just use Google ads, because nobody will be there, right? Exactly. So you can use Google ads and you show up in the first page right away. As soon as you start a campaign, with I don't know, $20, whatever you want to start, you don't have competitors there. So make sure you know your competition, right?
Yeah.
But sorry, I interrupt you. So we were saying,
no
and good image, and then
so basically, there's pros and cons to all of the marketing. Generally, the first step is to do search engine optimization or search engine marketing. Then you can look into social media marketing and hitting, because you have to craft your message a little bit different than on search, right? It's a different audience. On social media, you're trying to convert them more, or trying to start a conversation and convince them that your product can fix what they have. Whereas search engine marketing or search engine optimization, they already know they want your product.
Yeah, and I think the difference is that social media, you really have to create this communication line. You have to feed this, social media channels. You have to, show a little bit of yourself.
It's a different kind of complexity than
when Google ads. If you don't want to do that, I don't want to, show my life or whatever. I don't want to feed social media. Well, you just create Google ads, and then you show up. If you have a good offer, well, maybe you don't need social media right now. You just put your great offer there for people to buy and see what happens. That will be the easiest and fastest way to test, maybe, right? If you have a good offer, a good product. That's amazing, Nick. So Nick Mann here. Yes. Thank you so much, my friend. So can you talk a little bit about your agency? Do you have what's going on? What are your goals? I always like to know more about great companies. I always bring great companies here, feature great people here in the podcast. So I'd like to know more about your company, and how can you help people to because any secrets,
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my company, or actually about me. So I started SEO about 4 years ago and started practicing, and practiced on my own agency site and ranked it #1 for Abbotsford SEO, ranked it to the top spot for Surrey SEO, Burnaby SEO, Langley SEO. Wow. So I beat out all the SEO agencies.
We are in Canada, by the way. We're
in Canada.
Wherever you are,
so
we are here in Canada, in BC, British Columbia.
So that really
That's
helps
impressive,
leverage,
man.
because if you're going to work with an SEO agency, they should have some proof that they can actually do what they say.
And sometimes it's really hard to find.
The problem with that
proofs.
is, there's some people, and I get these calls all the time pitching me these SEO services, and so my secretary will pick up the phone and they'll be like, "Hey, you're not showing up in Google," and she's like, "Have you actually even looked? Because we're showing up in so many places for so many keywords." Yeah. So my gateway into the digital marketing world was SEO, but now as an agency, we do web development, we do social media,
a little bit of branding as well, right?
A little bit of branding, yeah.
And what is your web, where people can find you online?
Yeah, you can go to iias.com, and our company is called IIAS. It stands for International Internet Advertising Services.
Awesome.
It's a bit of a mouthful, but my business partner came up with it in 1996 when everything was more corporate. So,
yeah. No, it's definitely great. I had some experience with Nick. He's a amazing person, and about the backflip he did I remember this day he was talking about his company and he wanted to do something different, right, Nick? And he just did he wasn't in the ground, he just did a backflip. That was what? It was oh my god. So definitely an interesting person, a great networker, awesome, an expert in SEO. Thank you so much, man, for coming and for sharing all this knowledge. And I hope people check you out, and I see you for sure. Soon.
Thank you for having me on here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Cheers. For those who want to follow us, we are on social media channels. I love to do websites.com and iias.com
or .ca.
And thank you so much again. See you next time.
See ya.